Hey guys, Mr. Masoner coming back at you here from my grill, which is just full of great examples of conduction, convection, insulators, and conductors. I'm going to take you in real close so that you can see the temperature is up over 500 degrees, which is just perfect for grilling. I don't know if you guys remember back when we talked about something called the Maillard reaction in chemistry, when we were back around Thanksgiving time, where the proteins and the carbohydrates in food, when you cook them at really high temperatures, it generates a really delicious flavor that are frequently referred to by chefs as the tasty brown bits. Here, if you look at the grill, I'm gonna put my hand up kind of close to it, but I'm not gonna touch it. I can feel that heat radiating off of my grill. So we've got that one method of heat transfer, radiation. I'm gonna be a little bit risky here and I'm gonna touch it. Yep, that hurts. You can see the little bit of oils that got left behind from my fingers. That is conduction, where you have direct contact. And if you can imagine, if I had a pot of boiling water sitting on here, we'd be able to witness convection. And actually convection is happening right now. I don't know if you guys have ever seen, as the sun shines down on the earth, you've seen hawks or vultures or other large birds doing a behavior called kettling overhead, where they just kind of stretch out their arms and they basically float around on these rising thermals. So as the sun shines down on the earth, the hot air rises and it creates updrafts, which these birds use to basically conserve energy while they're looking for food. So I've got a couple of different things I want to show you here. The first one, I have two different kinds of pots. You see I have my kind of traditional steel pot here with a handle. Normally, under most circumstances, if I had this on my stove, even if I'm boiling water or I'm cooking something very hot, I'm still okay touching this handle with my bare hand. A lot of pots will be made of different materials. I don't know if you see here where these things connect, where the handle attaches to the pot itself. Sometimes they have non-conductors in there, or these things called insulators. Maybe a little piece of ceramic. Sometimes they'll put a piece of plastic. Sometimes they'll even make the handles on a pot out of plastic so that you can touch it, because these insulators don't allow for the movement of that thermal energy from the pot itself to the handle that you're going to hold. However, I've got this big old cast iron pan, which I've talked to you guys about. I love this pan, and one of the reasons I love this pan is because when you cook foods in it, some of the iron in the pan gets absorbed into the food. So for some of you guys that have a tendency to be anemic, once again, an anatomy and physiology connection here, the iron absorbed will help you to get more iron into your body. It will get absorbed through your digestive tract into your bloodstream. And you guys will use this iron to make hemoglobin, which carries oxygen on your red blood cells. So I love this cast iron pot. But the one thing I know is that if I'm cooking with it, I know because if you look at the handle, it's one piece here attached to the pot. There's no connection here. And what winds up happening is this handle has a tendency to get really hot. So I know that if I'm cooking with my cast iron pot, I have to use an insulator. Use something like this pot holder, which is made out of cloth with a little bit of silicone on it. Similarly, if I were to put this down on a surface in my home, I would use something like a trivet. And I don't know if you guys have seen, here's like a wooden trivet. They make them out of metal sometimes. What that does is it protects the surface that you set it on. Other examples you might see of insulators here. I have my little koozies that my kids put around their seltzer cans. So when those seltzer cans are cold and they don't want them to make their hands cold, or they don't want the heat energy from their hands to transfer into the seltzer can and warm it up, my kids use these koozies around the house. I think all of you guys are familiar with the hydro flasks. I should probably go or whatever that sound is. I'm not even sure what it is. And some of you may have even seen me eating out of, at lunchtime, my favorite Hello Kitty insulated thermos. Oftentimes I'll put warm food in here, and you'll see that even though the metal in this thermos, just like the Hydro Flask, is a good conductor, what happens is, just like with my coats, there is a little area of air in here. You can kind of hear it when I tap my finger on it, where that warm air is trapped, and it helps to insulate the food. Now, let's go over. I'm going to show you a couple of other things around the house, but those are some great examples of insulators around the kitchen. Oh, one more. I don't know if you see, I've got a grill tool sticking here. My grill is at 500 degrees. You'll see metal, which is an excellent conductor. So if I were to touch this, that's super hot. But if you'll see, most grill tools are going to have like a wooden or a plastic handle. So I could hold this thing all day long, despite the fact this thing heats up.